There's an interesting article from Chris Arnade in The Guardian, and he argues that atheism is an intellectual luxury for the wealthy. And people who are, struggling, they're poor, they don't have the ability to be an atheist because in some cases the only thing they have is their religion. And he forms a strong argument because he says, I am an atheist. I've been an atheist pretty much my whole life. He recalls an incident when he was 16 years old, and a pastor said something to him, and he said, I don't believe in God, so back off. And he talks about how through most of his life he would sit there and whatever. He got to Wall Street, he worked on Wall Street, and he would read the news while there and see that Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens was arguing against the ignorance of religion, and he would sit there and be like, yeah, good thing. But then as he got older, he went to volunteer at a soup kitchen, and he expected that the people there would be more on his side. They'd be more atheistic, and they'd be more, they'd realize all the bullshit and nonsense of the cultural norms and the structural foundation of society. But he realized that's not the case. He realized that he got there, and all these people who he thought would be non-religious are like, no, I actually believe in God, and I actually think there's a plan, or I think that all I have is my one woman told him, all I have is my identity as a prostitute, as a mother, and as a child of God, or something like that. And he said time after time he would keep meeting people who basically portrayed to him this idea that this is all they have. That somebody would say, they'd have a horrible day and they're not making the bills, they're going to be evicted or whatever, and they get in the car and they say, well, at least I know that God's getting in the car with me. And he said that touched a nerve. It struck a chord with him, and it made him realize, or it made him think, that atheism is just an intellectual luxury for the wealthy, and that we are bullies. He said, I was a bully when I was 16, telling the pastor, get out of my face. And he says he thinks Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens when he was alive, and Sam Harris and all these guys, he thinks they're just like, him when he was a 16-year-old. That's the same kind of thing that he sees in them. And I have a takeaway from this that's in between the two. I don't agree with him fully, but there are parts of what he says that are true. So overall, does that mean you should not talk about believing in atheism or being an anti-theist or your beliefs? Absolutely not. Everybody has a right to talk about the things that they personally believe, and I happen to think that we are right, so why should the people who are correct shut up? Now, with that being said, are there some people who need their religion? And are there some people who rely on it and wouldn't be able to make it without that? Absolutely. People in prison, some of the only thing they have is, Muhammad or Jesus is with me. And I don't want to take that away from anybody. If you listen to the show, you'll find there are many times I've said this, and I'll keep repeating it because I believe it. I'm not on the Bill Maher page, for example, where he wants to abolish religion. No, I think there's always going to be maybe anywhere from 5, or if we're lucky, 1% to 10% of the population, or even as high as 20%, that needs religion in their lives because they don't see any point in going on without it, and it gives them order and structure. And even though it's false, it's a belief that perpetuates them to do good and continue living and makes everything function smoothly. I'm not taking it away from them. Some people actually need it. They need it. But then again, at the same time, the Jesse Ventura quote is true, that oftentimes it's a crutch for the weak. And sometimes it's for mentally weak people, but oftentimes it's for physically weak people who've been beaten down by society through no fault of their own. So I guess my point to Chris Arnade is, why not, instead of saying lay off atheists, let's let them have it because it's all they have. And I understand that position, but instead of saying that, why not say, let's work to fix the system so that we don't have anybody who's in such a horrible position in their life where they do have to rely on their religion to get by? Why not fix all the poverty and all the homelessness and all the hunger so that we can get to a point where the people who before might have needed religion to get through the night, now they think, well, I have a roof over my head, I have food in my stomach, I have a job to go to, I have meaning, I have purpose, I don't need it.